A rich husband chased his wife away. Said she was lazy and useless. But when she left, everything in his life fell apart. Now he wants her back. But it's too late. Please. This story will touch your heart. Don't skip it. My dear friends, please support me by clicking the subscribe button. Your support means so much to me. Let's grow this family together. Thank you so much. Story begins. The sun was smiling brightly on the day Michael and Angela got married. The whole town came out to celebrate. People whispered, "She's lucky," because Michael was a rich young man, tall, handsome, with a smile that could melt any woman's heart. Michael owned a big real estate company. His cars were always shining. He wore designer suits and gold wristwatches. Women wanted him, men respected him, but he had chosen Angela, a quiet, beautiful lady from a humble background. She wasn't the loud type. She didn't wear makeup every day. She didn't have a big following on social media. But she was calm, respectful, and full of love. Their wedding was a dream. White Angela everywhere, golden chairs, fireworks, and a cake so tall it almost touched the ceiling. Michael kept smiling at Angela like she was the only woman on earth. He told everyone, "This is the woman I prayed for." Angela smiled shyly and held his hand. After the wedding, they moved into Michael's big house in the city. It had 6 bedrooms, a large kitchen, and a compound that could contain 10 cars. Michael told she didn't have to work. "Just take care of the house and our future kids," he said. "I'll handle the rest." At first, it sounded like a fairy tale. Angela was happy. She cleaned the house daily, cooked delicious meals, and prayed for her husband before he went to work. She even packed his lunch and ironed his clothes. Everything was perfect. At first. 1 year later, they welcomed their first child, a boy they named Daniel. Angela became even more committed to her home. She stayed up all night when the baby cried. She stopped going out. She rarely did her hair or nails. She poured all her love into her son and her husband. Michael seemed happy, but only for a while. Soon, he started complaining. "Angela, you're always tired," he said one evening while scrolling through his phone. "You used to look better when we first met." Angela looked up from where she was feeding baby Daniel. "I'm just tired, love. Daniel kept me awake all night." Michael rolled his eyes. "You're always tired," felt a small sting in her chest. But she kept quiet. Things got worse. Michael started coming home late. Sometimes midnight. Sometimes past 1 a.m. Angela would wait for him with food on the table. He would barely eat and go straight to bed. Other times, he would say, "I already ate." Angela asked, "Where?" He replied coldly, "Why are you questioning me?" Then came the second child, a baby girl named Grace. Now, Angela had even more work. She cooked, cleaned, bathed the children, washed clothes, and still tried to make herself look presentable. But it never seemed to be enough for Michael. One Saturday, while Angela was sweeping the compound, Michael stepped out dressed in a sharp native outfit. "Where are you going?" Angela asked. "To a friend's party," he replied without looking at her. "Oh," she said, brushing dust off her wrapper. "Should I come with you?" Michael laughed, not kindly. "Come with me. You don't even fix your hair anymore. You're not the same Angela I married. You just stay at home and do nothing." Angela froze. "Do nothing?" "Yes," he snapped. "You sit here, eat my food, raise kids, is that work?" Tears filled her eyes, but she refused to cry in front of him. "I take care of our children, Michael. I cook. I clean. I save it." He cut her off and walked to his car. The engine roared, and he drove off without saying goodbye. Angela stood there, broom in hand, heart shattered. The house that once felt like a palace now felt like a prison. She walked inside and shut the door. Michael didn't come back. He didn't call. Angela waited until 1 a.m., then carried Grace to bed, her eyes red from crying. She couldn't understand what was happening. Was she no longer beautiful? Was being a good mother not enough? Was her crime choosing her family over her career? The next morning, she called her elder brother, Mr. Ben, and explained everything. Ben had always loved his sister like his own child. "That boy is proud," Ben said. "But keep being good. God is watching." Angela nodded. She didn't want to fight. She still loved Michael, but deep in her heart, something had changed. Michael sat in his office one afternoon, pretending to work, but his mind was far from the documents in front of him. His phone buzzed. It was a message from Tracy. "Hey baby, I miss you." He smiled. Tracy was different. She wore expensive wigs, fixed long eyelashes, and smelled like imported perfume. She laughed loudly at all his jokes, even the dry ones. She dressed like the women he used to admire on Instagram, always looking fresh, always looking fun. Michael met Tracy at a friend's birthday party. Angela had asked to go with him that day, but he told her the event was for only the boys. She didn't argue. She just nodded and went back to feeding their daughter. At the party, Tracy stood out. She wore a short red gown and walked like she owned the place. Michael noticed her immediately, and just like that, they started talking. Tracy knew how to catch a rich man's attention. She acted impressed by everything he said. She called him big man and laughed at his stories. Before the party ended, they exchanged numbers. By the next week, he had bought her a new iPhone. 2 weeks later, he bought her a gold necklace. By the end of the month, Tracy had a brand new car, all from Michael. Meanwhile, Angela was still at home, struggling to find money to buy baby formula. Michael didn't care. When he got home late and Rose asked, "Where were you?" he would shout, "Don't stress me." One night, Angela cooked his favorite meal, pounded yam and vegetable soup. She dressed up nicely, fixed her hair, and even wore the red dress he once said he liked. She waited patiently. Michael came back at 11:45 p.m. He walked past the food and straight to the bedroom. "Michael," she called softly. "I made your favorite food." "I already ate," he said coldly. "Where?" she asked. "Out." He didn't even look at her. Angela stood in the dining room, staring at the untouched food. Her heart was full of pain. That night, she sat on the floor and cried quietly, so the children wouldn't wake up. While Angela was hurting, Tracy was posting pictures of herself in restaurants with captions like, "Dinner with King." Michael was the king, but he was blind to what was happening. At work, he started acting like a teenager in love. Always smiling at his phone. Buying flowers. Sending Tracy money every other day. "Angela is boring," he told his friend one day. "She doesn't do anything. She just stays home." His friend looked at him strangely. "You mean your wife who gave birth to your kids and takes care of your home?" Michael laughed. "That's not work, my guy. She's lazy." The word lazy became Michael's favorite insult for Angela. If the house was not perfectly clean, he shouted. If the children cried too much, he shouted. If Angela was too tired to cook his dinner on time, he shouted. "You have one job, and you still fail," he would say. Meanwhile, Tracy couldn't even cook noodles. But she knew how to smile, flirt, and make Michael feel like a king. She wore makeup every day. She greeted him with hugs and laughter. She never talked about children, house chores, or school fees. Of course, she didn't have any real responsibility. Michael was paying all her bills. One afternoon, Angela picked up Michael's dirty laundry and found a hotel receipt in his pocket. The name on the receipt made her hands shake. Tracy Suites and Lounge. That was the same hotel her friend had once mentioned seeing Michael near. Angela sat down and took a deep breath. Her heart pounded fast. She waited for him that night. When Michael returned, she showed him the receipt. "What is this?" she asked, her voice shaking. He looked at it and smirked. "It's none of your business." "Michael," she whispered, "you're cheating on me." He didn't deny it. "Maybe if you were not so boring and lazy, I wouldn't have looked outside." Those words felt like knives in her heart. "Lazy," she repeated. "I cook, clean, raise your kids, and you call me lazy." "You're not a woman," he said coldly. "You're just a babysitter." Angela stepped back, her chest rising and falling. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but she said nothing more. That night, she didn't cry. She just held her daughter and stared out the window, wondering how love could disappear so fast. The next weekend, Michael took Tracy on a vacation to Lagos. They stayed in a beach resort. Tracy posted pictures in a bikini, standing in front of the ocean. Michael appeared in the corner of one photo, smiling like a fool. People on social media started asking questions. Isn't this man married? Where is his wife? Men will embarrass you. Angela's friend showed her the pictures. Didn't say a word, just closed her phone and sat in silence, her eyes wet with pain. Even her children noticed. Mummy, are you sad? Daniel asked one day. Angela smiled weakly and hugged him tight. No, my baby, I'm okay. But she wasn't okay. Michael had changed. He had become proud, careless, and cold. All because of a woman in designer shoes and fake love. Angela stood in front of the mirror one morning, brushing her hair gently. Her hands were shaking. Her face looked tired, and dark circles had formed under her eyes. She barely slept anymore. Little Daniel ran in, holding his shoes. Mummy, can you help me wear my shoe? He asked sweetly. Angela smiled weakly. Come here, my love. She bent down and helped him, even though her back was aching. Grace was crying in the bedroom. Angela had been up since 4 a.m., feeding her, bathing her, cleaning the kitchen, and preparing breakfast. She hadn't eaten. She hadn't even taken her bath. But she still smiled for her children. Just as she finished tying Daniel's shoelaces, the door swung open. Michael walked in, looking angry. "Where is my blue shirt?" he barked. Angela looked up. "I ironed it. It's in the wardrobe. I didn't see it there," he snapped. "Let me check again." She went quickly to the wardrobe and brought the shirt out. It was neatly ironed, just like she said. Michael grabbed it without a thank you. Then he said something that pierced her soul. "This house is a mess. You don't do anything. What kind of woman are you?" Angela froze. "I've been up since 4 a.m., she whispered. "I've cleaned, cooked, bathed the kids, ironed your clothes. Yet the house still looks like a jungle," he shouted. Daniel flinched. "Stop shouting," Angela said. "The children. Let them hear," he interrupted. "Maybe they'll know their mother is useless." That word again. Useless. Angela stood there, her hands trembling. Her eyes filled with tears. "Why are you doing this to me, Michael?" she asked in a shaking voice. "What did I do wrong?" Michael laughed bitterly. "You did everything wrong. You let yourself go. You're no longer attractive. I come home to a tired woman with wrapper on her waist. You don't even look like my wife anymore." Angela felt something break inside her. This was not the man she married. Was not the man who once held her hand and promised forever. The worst part, he said all of this in front of their children. Daniel walked up to her and held her hand. "Mummy, are you okay?" he asked. Angela wiped her eyes quickly. "I'm okay, baby. Go and watch cartoons with Grace." Michael hissed and left the house. That afternoon, Angela sat quietly in the living room. Her body was tired, but her heart was even more tired. Then the doorbell rang. It was Mrs. Joy, Michael's mother. "Mama," Angela said, surprised. Angela walked in and sat down. "I just came to see how you're doing." Angela smiled weakly. "I'm fine, Mama." Joy looked around the house, then at Angela. "You're not fine," she said. "I can see it in your eyes." Angela nodded, tears filling her eyes again. Joy reached out and held her hand. "My son has lost his mind. I don't know what that girl gave him, but I warned him. I told him not to throw away a good woman for street beauty." Angela smiled sadly. "I don't even know what I did wrong." "You didn't do anything wrong, my daughter," Joy said. "You've been the best wife any man can pray for. Michael is just blind right now." They sat in silence for a while. Then Angela said something Angela would never forget. "Some men don't realize a woman's value until she leaves. And by then, it's too late." That night, Angela tried to talk to Michael again when he came home. She brought him food and sat beside him. "Michael, can we talk?" "Talk about what?" he replied without looking at her. "Our marriage. Our home. I feel like I'm losing you." "You should have thought about that before becoming useless," he said sharply. Angela's hands dropped to her lap. "Useless," she repeated. "You keep saying that word. But I carry this house on my shoulders." Michael stood up and faced her. "Do you know how many women are begging to have a man like me?" he said proudly. "You should be grateful." Angela looked at him with pain in her eyes. "I am not your maid, Michael. I am your wife. And I deserve love and respect." He laughed. "You deserve to leave, that's what you deserve." She gasped. "What did you say?" "You heard me." He walked to the bedroom and shut the door. Angela sat on the couch for hours, holding back tears. The man she once loved had become her biggest pain. The next day, she packed some clothes for the kids and took them to her brother Ben's house for the weekend. Ben looked at her and said, "You can stay here with the children. You need rest." Angela nodded. She slept without crying. Meanwhile, Michael took Tracy out to a nightclub. They drank, danced, and laughed all night. Tracy posted a picture with the caption, "Only real men can handle a real woman." Michael reposted it with fire emojis. He didn't know that while he was showing off fake love online, his real home was breaking piece by piece. The day everything changed forever started like a normal Saturday morning. Angela woke up early as usual. She bathed the children, cleaned the house, and prepared breakfast. She made yam porridge, Michael's favorite. She even added dried fish, just the way he liked it. She wanted peace. Was tired of the shouting. Tired of the insults. Tired of being treated like a burden. Maybe today would be different. By 10 a.m., Michael walked in, dressed in jeans and a designer shirt. His gold wristwatch glinted in the sun. He didn't greet anyone. He didn't look at the children. He just walked past Rose like she was air. "Good morning," she said quietly. He ignored her. She followed him into the room and said, "Can we talk, please?" Michael turned sharply. "Talk about what again? Didn't I tell you I'm tired of you?" Angela swallowed. "I've been trying. I've been holding this family together. Please, let's fix this." Michael laughed cruelly. "There's nothing to fix. I've made my decision." Angela frowned. "What decision?" "I want you out of this house," he said coldly. "You and those children. Pack your things." Angela froze. "You're joking, right?" "Do I look like I'm joking?" he snapped. "I've already spoken to my lawyer. This is my house, and I want you out." Her mouth dropped open. "Michael, we have children. Where do you expect us to go?" "I don't care," he said, walking toward the door. "You've been lazy for too long. I need peace of mind." "Peace of mind," Angela whispered. "So Tracy gives you peace. At least she's not always smelling of baby powder and sweat." Those words hit her like thunder. Michael walked out and slammed the door. Angela fell to the floor. Her body felt weak. Her mind was spinning. The children were playing in the living room, laughing, not knowing their world was about to break. She stood up, wiped her tears, and started packing. Not because she wanted to, but because she had no choice. 3 hours later, Ben arrived with his car. When he saw Angela's bags, his face tightened. "What's going on here?" he asked. Michael was standing at the corner, holding a glass of juice like nothing was happening. Ben turned to him. "You chased your wife and kids out. Just like that." Michael smirked. "She's been lazy. I'm tired of feeding a full-grown woman." Ben took a step forward. "You must be mad." Michael laughed. "Get out of my house." Ben turned to Angela. "Let's go. One day, he will regret all this." Angela looked at the house one last time. Her eyes filled with tears. She remembered bringing Daniel home from the hospital. She remembered decorating the children's room. She remembered cooking late at night just to surprise Michael. Now, she was being pushed out like a stranger. As she and the kids got into Ben's car, Grace cried, "Mummy, are we not coming back?" Angela looked at her and forced a smile. "Not now, baby. We're just going to see Uncle Ben for a while." Michael stood at the gate, sipping his juice like nothing happened. That evening, he called Tracy. "She's gone," he said proudly. Tracy laughed on the phone. "Finally. I've been waiting for this day. I'm moving in tomorrow." Michael smiled. "My house is all yours now, baby." The next day, Tracy arrived with her suitcase, makeup box, and designer handbags. The compound that once smelled like baby oil and fried plantain now smelled like strong perfume and cigarette smoke. She changed the curtains, moved Angela's photo from the shelf, and told the housemaid to mind her business. Michael didn't complain. In fact, he was excited. A new life had begun. No more baby cries. No more boring home-cooked food. Just fun, laughter, and sexy selfies. Or so he thought. Meanwhile, at Ben's house, Rose was trying to rebuild her life. She didn't cry in front of the children. She laughed with them, helped them with homework, and cooked their favorite meals. But when they slept, she cried silently into her pillow. Ben watched her one evening and said, "You're stronger than you think, Angela." She smiled. "I don't feel strong." "You are," Ben replied. "And one day, that man will realize he threw away a diamond." Angela nodded. "Maybe, but by then, it might be too late." A week later, Angela got a small job at a tailoring shop. She wasn't earning much, but it helped her buy snacks for the kids and contribute to Ben's home. She was no longer just a housewife, was now a mother and a hustler. And something surprising began to happen. She started to smile again. Not because life was easy, but because she had peace. Real peace. Back at Michael's mansion, things weren't as rosy as he expected. Tracy refused to cook. She ordered food daily. She didn't wash clothes. She sent them to the dry cleaner. She didn't help around the house. She just posed for pictures all day. And worst of all, she didn't want the kids visiting. "I don't like noise," she said. "Those kids spoil my mood." Michael started getting irritated. He missed Daniel's laughter. He missed Grace calling him daddy. But his pride was too big to admit it. He kept pretending everything was fine. One evening, Michael's mother came to visit. When she didn't see Angela or the children, she asked, "Where is my daughter-in-law?" Michael replied, "She's gone." Mrs. Joy looked at him with disappointment. "And you're proud of that?" "I needed peace." Angela shook her head. "You didn't chase your wife away. You chased your blessing away." Then she stood up and left without another word. Michael sat there, confused. For the first time, something in his heart didn't feel right. Tracy danced in front of the mirror, wearing Michael's oversized shirt and her red lipstick. She spun around with joy, holding her phone up to record a video for her followers. New house, new life. God, I see your hand. She shouted playfully. Her comments filled up with, "Yas queen, soft life activated. Where can I find my own Michael?" Meanwhile, Michael was downstairs reading through emails, already tired of the noise from upstairs. Since Tracy moved in, his house had become something else. Loud music, ring light in the sitting room, dishes piling in the sink. Every morning, she ordered food from a popular restaurant, took photos of it, and tagged it. Breakfast in bed, courtesy of my man. Michael smiled at first, but it didn't last. The first sign of trouble came just 1 week after she moved in. Michael came home around 7 p.m., exhausted. "Tracy, what's for dinner?" he asked, dropping his laptop bag. She laughed from the bedroom. "Check the fridge, babe. I ordered Chinese." He frowned. "You didn't cook." Tracy came out wearing silk shorts and a bonnet. "Cook K, am I your maid? You didn't marry me for kitchen work, a beg." Michael forced a laugh and opened the fridge. There were 2 takeaway packs. Half-eaten noodles and cold spring rolls. He sighed and warmed it up, even though it tasted like paper. Back when Rose was around, the house always smelled like jollof rice, plantain, fried fish or soup. No matter how tired he was, she always served him fresh, hot food with love and respect. But he had called her lazy. The second problem came the next morning. Michael needed one of his white shirts for an important meeting. He called Tracy from the wardrobe. "Where's my white shirt? The one with silver buttons?" She rolled her eyes. "How am I supposed to know? I don't touch shirts. Ask the maid. The maid only comes twice a week." Michael said, already annoyed. "Well, I'm not the maid. I'm your babe," she replied, flipping through her phone. Michael ironed the shirt himself. Late for his meeting. Angry. Confused. Still pretending. Soon, Tracy started complaining. "This house is too quiet," she said. "Let's throw a party." Michael looked up from his laptop. "A party? For what?" "For fun, babe. You need to relax." Michael shook his head. "I have meetings. You can go out if you want." Tracy hissed loudly. "You're becoming boring. Oh, even my ex was more fun." Michael looked at her sharply. "Excuse me," she smirked. "I'm just saying." He stood up and walked away before he said something stupid. 3 days later, Tracy invited her friends over without telling Michael. He came home to loud music, bottles everywhere, and strangers dancing in his living room. He nearly fainted. "What is going on here?" he shouted. Tracy danced over and hugged him. "Baby, you're home. Meet Cynthia, Remy, and Lolo. They're my girls." Michael looked around. "This is my house, not a club." Tracy's friends laughed. "Chill, OGA. Life is too short." He went upstairs and locked himself in his room. It was the first time he missed Angela deeply. Her quiet nature, her soft voice, the smell of her stew in the kitchen, the children running around with laughter. Now, the house was loud but empty. Full of people but no love. The next weekend, his mother visited again. The moment she entered, she paused. "What's that smell?" she asked, wrinkling her nose. Tracy walked past wearing short shorts and loud makeup. "Good afternoon, Ma." Joy forced a smile. "Good afternoon." She sat down and looked around. The house was dusty. Dishes sat in the sink. A wig was hanging on the dining chair. Joy looked at Michael. "This is what you left your wife and children for." Michael looked down in shame. "She's trying." "Trying to do what?" "Break your head." Tracy heard that and stormed into the room. Later, Joy faced her son seriously. "You used to be a good man. Look at you now, skinny, always tired, and unhappy." Michael rubbed his face. "I thought Tracy would bring peace." Joy shook her head. "You chased peace away when you called your wife lazy. You don't know what you had until you've lost it." Michael sat in silence. Joy stood and walked out without saying another word. That night, Michael tried to talk to Tracy. "Things need to change in this house," he began. Tracy laughed. "Change? What are you talking about? I need peace. Less noise. Less drama." Tracy rolled her eyes. "Then go and beg your quiet wife." Michael looked at her. "Don't disrespect Angela." "Why? You did," she snapped. Michael blinked. He didn't expect that reply. Tracy stood up and crossed her arms. "You can't eat your cake and have it. You left your sweet, quiet woman for me because I was fine and flashy. Now you want peace. Sorry, I'm not Angela." Michael swallowed hard. For the first time, the truth hit him. He had made the biggest mistake of his life. That night, as he lay in bed, Michael couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, hearing Tracy's voice in his head, but his heart was playing Angela's quiet laugh. He thought of Daniel's little voice calling him daddy and Grace wrapping her arms around his leg when he came home. Now, no one was waiting for him. He was rich. He had Tracy. But he was empty. Sweet outside. Bitter inside. Meanwhile, Angela was growing stronger. Her tailoring job was going well. Customers loved her humility. She had started saving money to start her own shop. Daniel and Grace were happy and healthy. And Ben's house, though small, was filled with laughter. One day, Angela stood in front of the mirror and saw a new version of herself, tired, yes, but no longer broken. She smiled at her reflection. "I'm not lazy," she whispered. "I'm a woman. A real one. Not the kind of silence you enjoy after a long day. Not peaceful silence. This one was different. Heavy. Lonely. Empty." Michael sat in his car, parked outside his own house, just staring at the gate. The house was big, beautiful, painted white and gold. The compound was paved. His Range Rover sparkled. Everything looked perfect. But inside, he felt like nothing. He didn't want to go in. Tracy was inside, but her presence had started to feel like noise. And noise was the last thing he wanted. He finally stepped out of the car and walked in. No one ran to greet him. No small hands pulled his shirt. No soft voice said, "Welcome, honey." Only the sound of Tracy's loud TikTok video playing in the sitting room. She looked up for a second and said, "You're back." Michael forced a smile. "Yeah." Then she went back to her phone. Later that night, Michael scrolled through his photo gallery and found an old picture, Angela holding baby Daniel, smiling beside a birthday cake. Grace was still in her womb at that time. He stared at the picture for minutes. She looked peaceful, warm. He remembered how Angela used to wait for him with food, slippers, and a kiss on the cheek. She used to ask him how his day went, even when hers was worse. She used to wake up early, pack his lunch, iron his shirts, and whisper prayers for him before he left. He thought about all the things he used to complain about. Her hair wasn't always done. She didn't wear designer clothes. She stayed home too much. Now, he had a woman with perfect makeup, fancy nails, expensive wigs, and no peace. That weekend, Michael decided to visit his children. He had not seen them in 3 weeks. He called Angela. She didn't pick up. He called again. Still no answer. He sent a message. "Please let me see the kids. I miss them." An hour later, Angela replied. "We'll be at my brother's house. You can come around 3 p.m. At exactly, Michael drove to Ben's house. When he knocked on the door, Daniel opened it. "Daddy," he shouted. Michael knelt and hugged him tightly. Then Grace came running too. "Daddy." Michael's eyes filled with tears. He hadn't realized how much he missed them until he held them in his arms. Angela came out holding a towel. "Good afternoon," she said quietly. Michael stood up. "Angela, you look good." "Thank you," she replied. He looked at her closely. She had trimmed her hair and wore a simple dress, but she looked calm and strong. Not like the woman he shouted at. Not like the woman he threw out. "Can I take them to the mall?" he asked. Angela hesitated. "You can take them out, but bring them back before 7 p.m. He nodded. The kids jumped with joy. At the mall, Michael bought them toys, snacks, and even ice cream. But something was missing. As they sat in the food court, Daniel looked at him and asked, "Daddy, why did you send Mummy away?" Michael froze. Grace looked at him too, waiting for an answer. He tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. "I made a mistake," he finally said. "And I'm sorry." Daniel nodded slowly, like a grown man. "Mummy still cries sometimes. But she tells us to be happy." Michael's heart broke again. He dropped his spoon and stared at the floor. What kind of man was he? When they got back, Angela opened the door. The children ran in, excited. Michael stood at the door and said, "Thank you." Angela nodded. Then she said something that made his chest tighten. "They ask about you every day. But I never speak badly of you. I just tell them their father is busy." Michael lowered his head. "I don't deserve that kindness," he whispered. Angela did not reply. She simply turned and walked inside. And that silence was louder than a slap. That night, back at home, Michael tried to talk to Tracy. "I want to change things," he said. "I want to be a better man." Tracy laughed without looking up from her phone. "Are you dying?" "I miss my family." She paused. "Then go back to them." "Who's stopping you?" "I hurt them," they said quietly. "I destroyed something beautiful." Tracy stood up and said, "You got what you wanted, Michael. You chose me. You kicked her out. You called her lazy. You let the world see her as weak. And now you want sympathy." Michael looked at her in shock. Tracy shook her head. "I'm not your wife. I'm your lesson." She picked her bag, walked out of the room, and slammed the door. Michael sat alone in the living room that night, staring at nothing. The house was quiet, but this silence was no longer peaceful. It was full of regret. The photos on the wall were now meaningless. The big screen TV didn't matter. His money, his cars, his designer watches, none of them could fill the hole in his heart. He went to bed, and for the first time in his life, he cried himself to sleep. Meanwhile, Angela was growing. Slowly but surely. Her tailoring boss gave her more clients because people liked her calm attitude. She was saving to open her own little shop. At night, she read bedtime stories to her children. She cooked simple meals, helped them with homework, and taught them to pray. Her peace returned, her joy returned, and her strength grew stronger each day. One night, as Rose was sewing a dress, Grace looked up and said, "Mummy, are you happy now?" Angela smiled. "Yes, baby, I'm very happy." And she meant it. It had been weeks since Tracy left. Yes, she left. Walked out one evening after an argument and never came back. She said she was tired of being a trophy in a house with no soul. Now, Michael was alone. With his regrets. With his thoughts. Alone with memories. He no longer smiled at work. His staff noticed it. His friends noticed it. Even his mother noticed. One evening, she sat beside him and said, "It's time to do the right thing." Michael sighed. "I don't even know if she'll forgive me." "She may not," his mother replied. "But you need to try." So he picked up his phone and sent a message to Angela. "Can I see you? I just want to talk." She replied the next day. "I'll be at the shop by 3 p.m. Michael drove to her new shop, a small, neat space with bright curtains and sewing machines. A hand-painted sign outside read, "Angela Touch Fashion House." When he entered, Rose was measuring fabric for a customer. She looked confident, mature, and full of purpose. Her glow wasn't makeup, it was peace. When she finished, she turned to him. "Good afternoon," she said calmly. Michael stood awkwardly, holding a small paper bag. "I brought snacks for Daniel and Grace. And I also wanted to talk." Angela nodded. "I'm listening." He looked at her, feeling like a beggar in front of a queen. "I made a big mistake," he began. "I let pride and foolishness destroy what we built. I thought peace was noise-free, fun-filled, and flashy. But I was wrong. Peace was." Angela looked at him, quiet. He continued, "You were never lazy. You were holding the house together. I see that now, and if I could go back and change everything, I would." She nodded slowly. "But you can't." Michael swallowed. "I know, but I want to try again. If you'll let me. For the kids. For us." Angela breathed in deeply and said, "I've forgiven you, Michael. Long ago. But I've also found something I lost. Myself." Michael's heart dropped. "Do you still love me?" She looked away, then back at him. "Love is not enough," she said. "You didn't just break my heart. You broke our children's hearts too. And healing has taken time." He stepped closer. "We can rebuild." "No," she interrupted. "You can't rebuild what you shattered with your own hands. Not all broken things are meant to be fixed." Tears welled up in Michael's eyes. "I'll wait. I'll keep waiting, even if it takes forever." Angela looked at him gently. "Don't wait for me," she said. "Use your time to become the man you should have been. For your children. For yourself." Michael stood still. The truth hit like thunder. She wasn't angry. She wasn't bitter. Had simply moved on. Later that evening, Michael sat in his empty house once again. The silence felt heavier than ever. No Tracy. No Angela. No laughter. Just him, alone with the sound of his regret. He walked into the children's room untouched, still filled with their toys and clothes. He sat on Daniel's small bed and broke down in tears. He realized something powerful that night. You can lose money and make it back. You can lose a car and buy another. But when you lose a good woman, you may never get another like her. Angela's fashion shop had grown. She now had 3 apprentices, regular clients, and had even launched her own line of clothing called Grace by Angela. She stood in front of her shop one sunny morning, holding Grace in her arms, while Daniel played with his new bicycle. She was smiling not because life was perfect but because she had peace. Michael still visited the children, and they were slowly building a healthy co-parenting relationship. But Rose never went back to his house. She never went back to being the woman begging for love. She had learned something powerful. Sometimes God removes people from your life to protect the future He has for you. And Michael, he still drove past her shop sometimes, hoping to see more than just a smile. But what he once called lazy was actually a woman doing the hardest job in the world, building a home with love. And now that he knew, It was too late, and just like that, a woman who was once called lazy became the strongest woman of all. She lost her marriage, but she found something more valuable than gold: her peace. She was thrown away like trash, but she rose again, stronger, wiser, and full of grace. Let this story remind us, not every woman in the house is doing nothing. Many are silently building homes, raising children, and sacrificing themselves every single day. And to every man watching, don't wait until it's too late to recognize a good woman. Don't trade peace for pleasure. Don't lose love for lust. And to every woman going through pain, this is your reminder. You are not weak. You are not useless. You are a warrior. And one day, your light will shine again. What did you learn from this story? Drop a comment below and tell us. What would you do if you were Angela? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more real-life African stories that inspire and heal the soul. Until next time, stay strong, stay wise, stay inspired. I love you all. Bye.